The moment that destroyed my marriage wasn't finding suspicious text messages, wasn't discovering secret social media accounts, wasn't walking in on my husband with another woman. It was my 5-year-old daughter Emma reaching for her father's phone to play her favorite game while he was in the shower, then running to me with tears streaming down her face, crying, "Oh, Mommy, who's this pretty lady with Daddy in the picture? Why are they hugging like that when Daddy said he was at work all by himself?" The innocent confusion in her voice as she held up his phone, showing me a photo of my husband, Mark, embracing a beautiful woman in what was clearly an intimate moment, made my blood turn to ice because I knew with absolute certainty that Mark had supposedly been attending a boring conference presentation that morning, alone in a sterile meeting room listening to speeches about quarterly projections and market analysis. When I asked Emma where she had found the photo, her response shattered 18 years of trust with the brutal honesty that only children possess. It was right there on his picture thing. "Mommy, and there are lots more pictures of the same pretty lady. But why doesn't Daddy tell us about his work friend?" In that instant, watching my daughter's confusion as my face changed from curiosity to horror, I realized that my husband hadn't just been having an affair. He had been documenting his betrayal in digital detail while using his demanding career as the perfect cover, turning his phone into a gallery of evidence that our 5-year-old could accidentally discover while looking for innocent entertainment. The photo Emma had found wasn't a casual workplace snapshot or an innocent team-building moment that could be explained away as professional camaraderie. It was an intimate embrace between Mark and a woman who was clearly much more than a colleague, captured in what appeared to be a hotel room or upscale restaurant, both of them dressed in evening attire that suggested a romantic occasion rather than a business function. The woman was stunning in the way that made me immediately understand why someone might risk everything to be with her. Elegant, sophisticated, wearing the kind of designer clothes and perfect makeup that spoke of wealth and refinement, everything that my practical, work-focused life as a mother and nurse had never prioritized or achieved. The way Mark was looking at her in the photo, the genuine happiness and passion in his expression, was devastating because it was an emotion I hadn't seen directed toward me in years, a level of engagement and joy that had disappeared from our marriage so gradually that I hadn't consciously noticed its absence until seeing it lavished on someone else. What made Emma's discovery particularly heartbreaking was the timestamp on the photo, which placed it during the exact hours when Mark had supposedly been attending mandatory professional development, sessions that he claimed were so boring and poorly organized that he couldn't even text me updates about when they might end. The romantic dinner captured in the image had occurred during what he had described as a tedious networking reception with potential clients, a work obligation that had kept him away from Emma's bedtime stories and our family dinner for the 3rd time that month. The casual cruelty of maintaining such elaborate lies while documenting his betrayal in digital detail, creating a photographic record that could devastate his family if accidentally discovered, revealed a level of arrogance and disregard for our well-being that was breathtaking in its selfishness. For 18 years, I had built my life around supporting Mark's demanding career and raising our daughter while maintaining the kind of stable, nurturing home environment that allowed him to focus entirely on professional advancement without worrying about domestic responsibilities or family management. I had met Mark during our residency years when we were both medical students, and our early relationship had been built on shared values about service and dedication, mutual respect for each other's ambitions, and a practical understanding that successful medical careers required enormous sacrifice and unwavering support from family members who understood the demands of the profession. His transition from emergency medicine to pharmaceutical consulting had been presented as a way to achieve better work-life balance while providing greater financial security for our family. A career change that would theoretically give us more time together while reducing the stress and unpredictability of hospital schedules. The life we had created together reflected these shared priorities and mutual sacrifices in ways that had made me proud of our partnership and committed to supporting his success. Our home was organized around his travel schedule and professional obligations. Our social life was shaped by his industry connections and networking requirements. Our family traditions were built around the brief periods when his work demands allowed him to be fully present. I had shaped my own nursing career around his needs, choosing positions that offered flexibility and reduced hours so that I could manage Emma's schedule and our household responsibilities, while he built the professional reputation that would provide our family's long-term security and stability. But Emma's innocent discovery forced me to confront the possibility that while I had been sacrificing my own career advancement and personal fulfillment to support Mark's professional success, he had been using that very success as cover for activities that had nothing to do with work and everything to do with personal gratification and romantic excitement. The conference that had supposedly required his weekend absence from family activities had apparently included intimate dinners and private moments with someone whose presence in his professional life was clearly much more personal than professional. Someone whose relationship with my husband was being documented and treasured rather than conducted with the discretion and guilt that affairs typically require. The most painful aspect of Emma's revelation wasn't just learning that Mark was having an affair, it was realizing that our 5-year-old had been accidentally exposed to evidence of adult betrayal while seeking innocent entertainment on a device that should have contained nothing more concerning than work emails and family photos. The fact that Mark had been storing intimate images of his affair partner on the same phone, where Emma played educational games and watched children's videos, suggested a level of carelessness and compartmentalization that was as disturbing as the infidelity itself. Our daughter had been one accidental swipe away from discovering comprehensive documentation of her father's systematic betrayal of our family, evidence that could have traumatized her understanding of trust and family loyalty in ways that would affect her development for years to come. Before I tell you how I used Emma's innocent discovery to expose Mark's systematic deception and protect our family's future, I need to ask you something that has haunted me since that afternoon when our daughter came running to me with such devastating evidence clutched in her small hands. Have you ever realized that your child had access to technology that contained evidence of your spouse's betrayal? That their innocent interaction with devices you thought were safe had exposed them to adult situations they were too young to understand? Have you ever discovered that while you were focusing on supporting your partner's career and maintaining family stability, they were using that very career as elaborate cover for activities that threatened everything you were working to protect? If you've ever felt like you were the only person in your marriage truly committed to the sacrifices that professional success supposedly required, if you've ever wondered whether work obligations were genuine or simply convenient excuses for activities you knew nothing about, subscribe to this channel now, because what I discovered after Emma's casual question about the pretty lady on Daddy's phone isn't just about infidelity. It's about how people can use professional demands as weapons of deception, how career success can become camouflage for personal betrayal, how technology that seems safe for children can contain evidence of adult crimes that threaten their emotional security and family stability. The investigation that followed my daughter's innocent observation will change how you think about work travel, about professional obligations, about the difference between people who sacrifice for their families and people who use family sacrifice as cover for their own selfish pursuits. The conversation I had with Emma about what she had seen on Daddy's phone was one of the most delicate and crucial interrogations of my life, requiring me to extract information without alarming her, or making her feel responsible for adult problems that were completely beyond her understanding or control. I approached it gently over several days, asking casual questions about the game she had been trying to play and what else she might have noticed while looking at Daddy's phone. Her responses revealed that she had seen not just the romantic photo that had initially upset her, but multiple images of Mark with the same woman. Pictures that suggested an ongoing relationship, rather than a single encounter or professional interaction. Emma's innocent observations painted a picture of systematic documentation that was far more comprehensive and devastating than the single photo she had initially discovered. She described seeing lots of pictures of Daddy and the pretty lady, eating fancy food, and photos where they're wearing nice clothes like when we go to weddings, and pictures where they're smiling really big like when you and Daddy used to smile at each other before he got so busy with work. Her casual mention of the change in our own relationship, filtered through a 5-year-old's understanding of adult emotions and family dynamics, was heartbreaking in its accuracy and devastating in its implications. But the most revealing detail Emma shared was her confusion about why these photos of Daddy with another woman were mixed in with pictures from his work trips, stored alongside images of conference presentations and business meetings that she had seen him show me when explaining where he had been and what he had been doing during his professional travel. In her innocent understanding, work photos and personal photos belonged in different places, and the intimate images of Mark with his affair partner violated the clear categorization that a child's mind imposed on adult activities and relationships. The private investigator I hired to document Mark's activities provided professional confirmation of what Emma's discovery and my own growing suspicions had already suggested, but also uncovered layers of deception that painted an even more comprehensive picture of his systematic betrayal of our family trust and resources. The woman's name was Dr. Rebecca Chen, and she was a colleague from his consulting firm who specialized in the same pharmaceutical markets that provided the foundation for Mark's professional expertise and industry reputation. Their relationship had apparently been developing for over 2 years, conducted under the perfect cover of legitimate business collaboration and professional development opportunities that required extensive travel and close working relationships. The surveillance evidence revealed that Mark and Rebecca's affair wasn't a casual or recent development, but a sustained, romantic partnership that had been carefully integrated into their shared professional activities, disguised as career advancement and business development, while actually serving as elaborate cover for a relationship that violated both workplace policies and Mark's marriage vows. They had been traveling together to industry conferences, attending business dinners that extended into romantic evenings, using company resources and family money to fund what was essentially a 2-year romantic relationship disguised as professional collaboration and career networking. But the most damaging evidence was the discovery that Mark had been systematically lying, not just about his whereabouts during business travel, but about the very nature of his professional obligations, using legitimate work requirements as cover for activities that served his personal relationship rather than our family's financial security. Many of the conferences he claimed to attend were real, but his participation was secondary to his opportunity to spend time with Rebecca in locations far from our home and family responsibilities, using my support for his career advancement as permission to pursue a relationship that contradicted every commitment he had made to our marriage and family. My sister Jennifer, who had always been my closest confidant and most trusted advisor, was horrified not just by Mark's infidelity, but by the systematic way he had been using our daughter's innocent trust in technology to store evidence of his betrayal, creating a digital archive of his affair that Emma could accidentally discover while seeking entertainment on devices that should have been safe for family use. Her response was immediate and protective. "He's not just cheating on you, he's been reckless enough to expose Emma to adult content, while using his career as elaborate cover for a relationship that threatens everything your family represents." Jennifer's background and family. Psychology provided insights into the particular damage that could result from Emma's accidental exposure to evidence of parental infidelity, especially when that evidence was discovered through technology that she associated with safety and entertainment, rather than adult problems and family secrets. She explained that children who accidentally discover proof of parental betrayal often struggle with guilt and confusion, wondering whether they should have been looking at the device, whether they caused problems by reporting what they saw, whether they could somehow have prevented their family's destruction by keeping the secret rather than sharing their discovery. The strategy Jennifer helped me develop was designed not just to expose Mark's affair, but to protect Emma from further exposure to adult content while ensuring that Mark faced appropriate consequences for his careless storage of intimate evidence on devices that our daughter regularly used for innocent activities. We decided to document everything comprehensively while creating a legal record that would protect Emma's interests in custody proceedings and provide me with maximum leverage in divorce negotiations that would need to address both his infidelity and his reckless endangerment of our child's emotional well-being. The confrontation with Mark became inevitable when Emma innocently asked whether the pretty lady from Daddy's phone would be coming to her upcoming birthday party, whether this new person might want to help make the decorations, since she seemed to make Daddy so happy in all their photos together. The casual way Emma mentioned this expectation, her natural assumption that important people in Daddy's life would eventually become part of their family activities, forced me to realize that our 5-year-old was processing the evidence she had discovered as normal rather than problematic, that she was trying to integrate this new information into her understanding of family relationships rather than recognizing it as evidence of betrayal and deception. The confrontation took place on a Wednesday evening after Emma was asleep, when Mark returned from what he claimed was a successful client presentation, but which I now knew had been another romantic rendezvous with Rebecca, disguised as professional obligation. I presented him with a selection of the evidence I had gathered: printouts of the photos Emma had discovered, surveillance documentation of his activities with Rebecca, financial records showing personal expenses disguised as business costs, and asked him simply, "Who is Dr. Rebecca Chen? And why does our 5-year-old daughter have access to intimate photos of your relationship with her?" The transformation on Mark's face was immediate and complete. The casual confidence of someone who believed. His deception was perfect, replaced by the trapped panic of someone who realized that months of careful lies had been exposed by his own child's innocent interaction with technology he had assumed was safe from family scrutiny. His first response was predictable. Attempts to minimize the significance of what Emma had discovered. Claims that the photos were taken out of context. Suggestions that his relationship with Rebecca was purely professional, despite the obviously intimate nature of the evidence. But when the comprehensive nature of my investigation became clear, Mark's defense revealed the true scope of his deception and the systematic way he had been using our family's support for his career as permission to pursue a relationship that violated every commitment he had made to our marriage. His explanation wasn't an apology or expression of remorse. It was a justification for behavior he portrayed as understandable given the demanding nature of his profession and the opportunities for connection that arose through intense professional collaboration with intelligent, attractive colleagues. Rebecca and I work incredibly well together, and our professional relationship evolved into something more personal over time, he said, as if the gradual development of his affair somehow made it more acceptable or inevitable. I never meant for Emma to see those photos, and I never intended for our professional partnership to become complicated by personal feelings. But when you're spending that much time with someone who really understands your work and appreciates your expertise, it's natural for deeper connections to develop. The most chilling aspect of Mark's confession wasn't his refusal to apologize for the affair. It was his assumption that now that I knew about Rebecca, we could somehow negotiate a new arrangement that would allow him to maintain both relationships. His professional partnership with Rebecca and his family commitment to Emma and me, as if systematic deception and the endangerment of our child's emotional well-being were minor issues that could be resolved through better communication and more flexible boundaries. His casual mention of Emma's accidental discovery was particularly revealing. Rather than expressing concern about the psychological impact on our daughter, or taking responsibility for his careless storage of intimate evidence on devices she used regularly, he focused on his irritation at being caught, and his assumption that Emma was too young to understand the significance of what she had seen. The complete absence of parental concern or protective instinct. His treatment of our daughter's exposure to adult content as an inconvenience rather than a serious breach of his responsibilities as a father showed me exactly who I had been married to for 18 years. The legal proceedings that followed Mark's exposure were particularly satisfying because they addressed both his systematic deception and his reckless endangerment of Emma's emotional well-being through careless storage of affair evidence on family devices. Family courts have extensive experience with adultery cases, but judges are especially concerned about situations where children have been accidentally exposed to evidence of parental infidelity, where family technology has been compromised by adult content that threatens children's psychological security and understanding of family relationships. The custody arrangement that emerged from our divorce reflected the court's understanding that Mark had demonstrated poor judgment about protecting Emma from adult situations, that his careless integration of affair evidence with family technology showed a lack of appropriate boundaries between his personal indulgences and his parental responsibilities. The judge was particularly troubled by the fact that Emma had been regularly using a device that contained intimate photos of her father's affair, that Mark had been so absorbed in documenting his betrayal that he had failed to consider the impact on his own child if she accidentally discovered the evidence he was creating and storing. But the most satisfying outcome wasn't the legal resolution. It was watching Mark realize that his plan to maintain both his family life and his relationship with Rebecca had been completely destroyed by his own carelessness and his daughter's. Innocent curiosity about technology he had assumed was safe from scrutiny. Rebecca, who had believed their affair was discreet and professionally managed, was horrified to discover that her relationship with Mark had been exposed through a 5-year-old's accidental discovery of intimate photos, that their professional partnership had been revealed not through sophisticated investigation, but through a child's search for entertainment on her father's phone. The revelation that Mark had been so reckless about concealing evidence of their relationship that his own daughter could accidentally stumble across comprehensive documentation of their affair was more than Rebecca's professional reputation could tolerate. Her decision to end their relationship and request a transfer to a different division of their consulting firm left Mark facing the consequences of his choices alone, without the family he had betrayed, or the colleague whose career he had compromised, without the professional partnership he had prioritized, or the domestic stability he had destroyed through systematic deception disguised as career advancement. At this point in my story, I need to pause and ask you something that still shapes my understanding of technology: family safety and professional boundaries. If you discovered that your spouse had been storing evidence of their affair on devices that your child regularly used for innocent activities, exposing your son or daughter to adult content while using professional obligations as elaborate cover for systematic betrayal, what would you do? Would you focus on protecting your child from further exposure to evidence of adult deception, even if it complicated your own process of gathering information for legal proceedings? Would you prioritize immediately securing all family technology to prevent additional accidental discoveries? Or would you first document everything to ensure maximum leverage in divorce negotiations? Would you seek consequences that matched both the infidelity and the reckless endangerment of your child's emotional well-being? Or would you focus on healing and building a better future for your family? Tell me in the comments what you think you would choose, because the decisions I made about handling Mark's comprehensive betrayal affected not just my own recovery, but Emma's understanding of technology, safety, family boundaries, and the difference between people who protect children from adult problems and people who expose children to adult complications through their own selfish choices and poor judgment. The strategy I developed for rebuilding our lives after Mark's betrayal was focused on helping Emma understand that her innocent discovery had protected our family from someone who was making poor choices about technology and boundaries. That her accidental observation of inappropriate content on Daddy's phone had revealed problems that already existed rather than creating new difficulties. The goal was to help Emma process the changes in our family structure without feeling responsible for adult problems that were entirely her father's creation, without developing anxiety about technology or fear that her normal interactions with devices might cause similar discoveries in the future. The therapy sessions that became part of Emma's routine were designed to help her understand that adults who store inappropriate content on devices that children use are making poor choices about family safety and technology boundaries, that her accidental discovery of evidence had been the result of her father's failure to protect her from adult situations, rather than any mistake on her part. The child psychologist we worked with specialized in helping children who had been accidentally exposed to adult content, teaching Emma that her normal curiosity about games and entertainment was healthy and appropriate, that adults were responsible for ensuring that family devices contained only content that was suitable for all family members to see. But the most important healing came from the conversations Emma and I had about technology safety and the importance of adults maintaining appropriate boundaries between their personal activities and devices that children use for education and entertainment. Emma learned that family phones and tablets should be safe spaces where children could explore and play without accidentally discovering adult content, that people who truly cared about children's well-being would never store inappropriate material, where curious kids might find it accidentally while looking for innocent fun. The transformation in Emma following our family's restructuring was gradual but profound, reflecting the relief that comes from living in an environment where technology is truly safe for children, where adult problems are handled privately rather than being stored alongside children's games and educational content, where family devices contain only material that enhances rather than threatens a child's sense of security and appropriate boundaries. The anxiety she had developed about using phones and tablets, worry that she might accidentally see something that would upset adults or cause family problems, disappeared once she learned that our new family technology policies prioritized her safety and peace of mind over any adult convenience or carelessness. The new traditions Emma and I created around technology use were built on foundations of safety and transparency that our previous family life had been missing, even when I hadn't realized the extent to which Mark's poor boundaries had been compromising our daughter's digital security. Created separate user accounts for different family members, and implemented systems that ensured Emma could use technology for learning and entertainment without any risk of accidentally discovering adult content that might confuse or upset her. The community of support that formed around Emma and me once the truth about Mark's systematic deception became known included other families who had discovered that their children had been accidentally exposed to evidence of parental infidelity through shared technology, parents who had learned that their trust in family device safety had been betrayed by partners who prioritized their own convenience over their children's emotional protection. We created a network of families who understood that divorce involving child exposure to adult content required different safety strategies than simple marital dissolution. The professional success I achieved after freeing myself from a marriage built on systematic lies disguised as career advancement was remarkable in ways that surprised everyone who knew me. Without the constant stress of supporting someone whose professional obligations were actually personal indulgences, whose career demands were often cover for activities that served his own gratification rather than our family's financial security, I discovered energy and focus that allowed me to advance my own nursing career in ways I had never prioritized while supporting Mark's supposedly demanding profession. The legal advocacy work I began, focusing on protecting children from accidental exposure to adult content on family devices, became a passion that gave meaning to the trauma Emma and I had experienced. Our story became part of a larger conversation about technology safety in families affected by infidelity, about recognizing that parents who store inappropriate content on devices accessible to children are engaging in a form of emotional negligence, about creating better systems for protecting children whose parents' poor judgment about digital boundaries threatens their psychological security and understanding of appropriate family relationships. The writing I began about family, technology safety, and protecting children from accidental exposure to adult content gave me a platform to reach parents who might be unaware of how their personal digital choices could affect their children's emotional well-being and understanding of appropriate boundaries. The response from readers was consistently gratitude for permission to establish stricter technology boundaries in their homes, validation that their concerns about family device safety were legitimate and important, encouragement to prioritize their children's digital security over adult convenience or assumptions about what children might accidentally discover. 2 years after Emma's innocent question about the pretty lady on Daddy's phone destroyed our understanding of our family, but ultimately saved us from continued deception, disguised as professional advancement, I can say with certainty that children's natural curiosity about technology often reveals adult secrets that are hiding in plain sight. That devices we assume are safe for family use can contain evidence of systematic betrayal. That professional obligations aren't always what they appear to be when examined through the lens of comprehensive investigation. Emma, now 7 years old and thriving in an environment where technology is genuinely safe for children, where adult problems are handled with appropriate boundaries, where family devices support rather than threaten her emotional security, has internalized lessons about digital safety and appropriate boundaries that will protect her throughout her life. She knows that family technology should enhance rather than complicate children's lives, that adults who truly care about kids will never store inappropriate content where curious minds might accidentally discover it, that her natural interest in games and learning should never be shadowed by worry about what she might accidentally see. The relationship Emma has with her father now is limited and carefully structured to protect her from further exposure to adult content, while acknowledging the biological reality of their connection. Mark's attempts to rebuild trust with Emma have been complicated by his inability to explain why he had been storing inappropriate photos on devices she used regularly, why his work obligations had been so different from what he claimed, why the professional advancement our family had supported had been cover for activities that threatened her security and understanding of family relationships. The most meaningful validation came from other children who had accidentally discovered evidence of their parents' affairs through shared technology. Kids who had carried confusing information about adult situations they encountered while seeking innocent entertainment. Through support groups and family therapy, Emma met other children who had found adult content on family devices, who had been confused by evidence of parental deception while trying to play games or watch educational videos, who had learned that their accidental discoveries were important rather than problematic. The technology safety programs we developed together focus on teaching families to maintain appropriate boundaries between adult personal content and devices that children use for education and entertainment. Emma has become an advocate for family digital safety, sharing her story with other children who have been accidentally exposed to adult content, helping them understand that their discoveries weren't their fault and that their safety should be prioritized over any adult convenience or carelessness about digital boundaries. The phone photo that changed our lives has become a symbol in our family narrative of how truth reveals itself through children's innocent interaction with technology, how adult secrets can't be hidden indefinitely from curious young minds, how family devices should enhance rather than threaten children's emotional security. That intimate image of Mark and Rebecca wasn't just proof of an affair, it was proof that he had been willing to compromise our daughter's digital safety while using professional obligations as cover for personal betrayal. The professional consulting work I developed, helping families establish appropriate technology boundaries and protect children from accidental exposure to adult content, has become a meaningful career that serves families while honoring the lessons Emma and I learned through our painful experience with Mark's poor judgment and systematic deception. The approach we developed helps parents understand that family device safety requires intentional effort rather than assumptions, that children's natural curiosity about technology should be supported rather than feared, that protecting kids from adult content is a basic parental responsibility that can't be compromised for personal convenience. If you've recognized elements of your own family story in mine, if your child has ever had access to technology that contained adult content, if you've ever discovered that professional obligations weren't what they appeared to be when examined closely, I want you to know that children's accidental discoveries often reveal the most important truths about adult character and priorities. That family technology safety is a choice rather than an accident. That people who truly care about children will prioritize their digital security over personal convenience or poor boundary management. The subscribers to this channel understand that modern family life requires intentional attention to technology boundaries, that children's access to digital devices should be carefully managed to prevent accidental exposure to adult content, that professional obligations should be transparent rather than convenient covers for personal activities that threaten family stability and children's emotional security. If Emma's story gives you permission to establish stricter technology boundaries in your home, to question whether work obligations are genuine or cover for other activities, to prioritize your child's digital safety over assumptions about family device sharing, then please subscribe and share your own experiences in the comments. The healing that's possible after discovering that your child has been accidentally exposed to evidence of your spouse's betrayal is profound and liberating, but it requires choosing family safety over adult convenience, children's emotional security over assumptions about technology sharing, truth about professional obligations over comfortable illusions about career demands that may be serving personal rather than professional purposes. Children's natural curiosity about technology should be celebrated rather than feared, supported rather than restricted, protected through appropriate boundaries rather than limited through anxiety about what they might accidentally discover. The photo that Emma found on her father's phone represents, for our family, the moment when truth broke through deception, when a child's innocent search for entertainment revealed adult secrets that had been hiding in digital plain sight, when technology became the tool that exposed rather than concealed systematic betrayal disguised as professional advancement. Sometimes the most devastating discoveries come through the most innocent activities, and sometimes the devices we trust most with our children's entertainment and education contain evidence that threatens their emotional security and understanding of family relationships. If you want more stories about children's discoveries revealing adult deceptions through technology, about protecting families from betrayal disguised as professional obligations, about transforming accidental exposure to adult content into empowerment and family safety advocacy, subscribe now and join a community of people who believe that children's digital safety should never be compromised by adult personal activities, that professional obligation should be transparent rather than convenient covers for systematic deception, that family devices should enhance rather than threaten children's emotional security and understanding of appropriate boundaries. Your story matters. Your child's accidental discoveries are valid and important, and your journey toward family technology safety and transparent professional boundaries, however difficult, is worth taking. Because somewhere another child is reaching for a parent's phone to play an innocent game, and they need to know that what they find should support rather than threaten their emotional security, that family devices should be safe spaces for curiosity and learning rather than digital minefields containing evidence of adult betrayal and deception. The financial recovery process included not only the substantial divorce settlement that reflected Mark's systematic deception and misuse of family resources for affair activities, but also the peace of mind that came from knowing Emma's future was secure and protected from anyone who would prioritize their personal gratification over their child's emotional safety and digital security. The money Mark had been spending on romantic getaways disguised as business conferences, on gifts for Rebecca that were charged to accounts I had trusted him to manage responsibly, was now available for Emma's education and activities, for creating the kind of stable, safe family environment where children could interact with technology without fear of accidentally discovering adult content. But the most profound transformation wasn't in our financial situation or living arrangements. It was in our relationship with technology itself and our commitment to building a family culture where digital devices enhanced rather than threatened Emma's sense of security, where adult content was appropriately separated from children's entertainment and educational activities, where professional obligations were transparent rather than covers for personal activities that violated family trust and safety. The community response to our story was overwhelmingly supportive, but it also revealed how common it is for children to accidentally discover evidence of parental infidelity through shared family technology. How many families are operating with digital boundaries that prioritize adult convenience over children's emotional safety? The advocacy work I began, working to establish better technology safety standards for families affected by infidelity, became a platform for reaching other parents who might be unaware of how their personal digital choices could affect their children's psychological well-being. The speaking engagements that grew from my advocacy work took me to family courts and parenting conferences across the country, where I shared the story of how a child's innocent search for entertainment exposed months of systematic deception and ultimately protected both of our lives from continued betrayal disguised as professional advancement. The response from audiences was consistently recognition that they too had been accepting professional explanations that didn't quite make sense, trusting that family devices were safer than they actually were, assuming that work obligations were genuine without considering alternative explanations. The educational programs I developed focus on teaching families to establish appropriate boundaries between adult personal content and devices that children use for education and entertainment, emphasizing that children's natural curiosity about technology should be supported through safety, rather than restricted through fear of accidental discovery. The workshops help parents understand that protecting children from adult content requires intentional effort rather than assumptions, that family device sharing should be carefully managed to prevent psychological harm from accidental exposure to inappropriate material. The research I conducted into the psychology of technology facilitated infidelity revealed that people who store evidence of affairs on devices accessible to children often display a level of narcissism and poor boundary management that extends beyond their romantic relationships to their parenting responsibilities. The choice to prioritize personal convenience over children's digital safety, to assume that kids won't accidentally discover adult content while seeking innocent entertainment, indicates someone whose judgment about family priorities is so compromised that their parenting decisions can't be trusted to serve their children's best interests. 3 years after Emma's innocent question about the pretty lady on Daddy's phone destroyed our understanding of our family, but ultimately saved us from continued deception disguised as career advancement, I can say with certainty that children's natural interaction with technology often reveals adult secrets that are hiding in digital plain sight. That family devices should be safe spaces for curiosity and learning, rather than repositories for evidence that could traumatize young minds seeking innocent entertainment. Emma, now 8 years old and thriving in an environment where technology truly supports her learning and development, where adult problems are handled with appropriate boundaries, where family devices contain only content that enhances rather than threatens her emotional security, has become an advocate for children's digital safety. She shares her story with other kids who have accidentally discovered adult content, helping them understand that their findings weren't their fault, and that their emotional safety should always be prioritized over adult convenience or poor boundary management. The phone photo that Emma discovered wasn't just evidence of Mark's affair with Rebecca. It was evidence that he had been willing to compromise his own daughter's digital safety while using professional obligations as elaborate cover for personal activities that violated every commitment he had made to our family's security and well-being. The intimate image that our 5-year-old found while looking for innocent entertainment represented everything that was wrong with his approach to both infidelity and parenting. Selfish, careless, prioritizing his own gratification over his child's emotional protection. The most unexpected gift of this entire ordeal was discovering that Emma's natural curiosity and innocent honesty, which had initially seemed to threaten our family stability, were actually the tools that protected us from continued deception and exposure to someone whose poor judgment about technology boundaries extended to every aspect of his character and parenting approach. Her willingness to ask questions about what she didn't understand, her confusion about adult content appearing where she expected to find games and entertainment, her natural assumption that Daddy's phone should be a safe space for family activities. All of these responses were exactly what they should have been from a child who had been raised to trust technology as a tool for learning rather than fear it as a source of potential trauma. The therapy and support that helped Emma process her accidental discovery emphasized that her curiosity about technology was healthy and appropriate, that adults were responsible for ensuring that family devices contained only content suitable for all users, that children who accidentally find adult material have discovered evidence of poor boundary management rather than stumbled into areas where they don't belong, her well throughout her life, helping her understand that technology should serve her interests rather than expose her to content that threatens her emotional security. The legal reforms that resulted from our advocacy work focused specifically on recognizing that storing adult content on devices accessible to children constitutes a form of digital neglect, that parents who fail to maintain appropriate technology boundaries are engaging in behavior that threatens their children's psychological well-being. Several states have introduced legislation that would make digital boundary violations a factor in custody determinations, recognizing that parents who expose children to adult content through poor device management pose risks to those children's emotional development. The technology safety consulting work that I developed helps families establish systems that protect children from accidental exposure to adult content while supporting their natural curiosity about digital learning and entertainment. The approach emphasizes that family device sharing should enhance rather than threaten children's emotional security, that adult personal activities require separate digital spaces that don't intersect with children's technology use, that professional obligations should be transparent, rather than covers for activities that violate family trust and safety. The writing I continued about family technology safety and protecting children from digital exposure